G'day, ajmahari here with a question again. For those of you who, have codependency and are busy denying it, or those of you that realize you have it now, but like, hey, it still doesn't feel so good, and how can anything be your responsibility? Because you're in this relationship with big, bad, horrible person with BPD. So many say out there in the echo chamber. Well, people with BPD might seem like this to you, but they don't want to be rescued. They don't want to be fixed. They don't really want to be, like I said in the last video, they don't want to be controlled. And people with codependency have a lot more passive, aggressive, and unconscious control going on than they might realize. What does the person with BPD want? Though they are very different from people with codependency, what do they want that's so different from the person with codependency, though? Kind of, if you just look at a little bit of the overlap there. Well, most people with BPD, and especially untreated, whether male or female, they want a parent figure. They want a parent who's going to they don't know this consciously, but unconsciously, they kind of want a parent in you, right? A partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a favorite person who's going to make everything okay and meet all their needs because they're very emotionally childlike. And so that's kind of what's happening with them, but not that they're consciously aware of that. And then why is it when you try to be that rescuing, wonderful, giving, caring, loving parent, break down to the last little detail of being nurturing and gentle and walking on the eggshells just as well as you possibly can, but it never works. Because if it's a petulant borderline, they still explode. If it's a quiet borderline, they still go all quiet, or they back away from you and they give you that quote, I need space thing, which usually is kind of like the beginning of a ghosting, which might not be a permanent ghosting, could be a pattern of ghosting starting on and off and on and off. And what do you think that the borderline really wants? Well, you're busy giving yourself and your life and so much of your time and everything else, maybe your hopes and your dreams and maybe even your career, you're giving it all away because you're and your friends and because you're getting isolated in this relationship and you're trying to give it so much. And you just think it lands on you somehow to fix them. But see, that's not altruistic. Altruistic. It's not, because what it is people with a codependency who want what they want too. And maybe you're not so consciously aware of what that is. So if a borderline doesn't want to be rescued and a borderline doesn't want to be fixed, but a borderline does kind of want all their needs met and they do want to be taken care of, and they do come from a very primal, arrested self, so they have a lack of self, so they do come from this very childlike emotional place often, and especially when triggered. And then you try to cater to that, and I've had many clients tell me, yeah, I just totally felt like I was her mother or father or both. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I was his or her mother or father because they just needed. But somehow you couldn't get enough of that need, really, because you're in there and you're fighting like a warrior with it, but you're losing yourself more and more. And so I just had a comment here and I was going to say something about it. So if people don't want rescue, people with BPD don't want rescue and they don't want to be fixed, what could they want? Well, they don't want this consciously. They don't think about this consciously. Most of them, I don't think so. But they just want what they need from you as object of their, representation of good parent never had. Somebody's going to see them and hear them and care about their every hurt and wound and tear and or yelling and screaming and everything just everything they need when they demand it from you. You're just going to bend yourself into a pretzel to try to give it, though it's never going to be enough. Make no mistake about that. Never going to be enough. Never going to satiate the borderline with anything that you give, no matter how much you give. If you give 24/7 for 2-3+ years, no, it's not going to be enough for the untreated person with BPD. So do borderlines just want you to comply? Is that it? Hey, I need what I need, and I want what I want, and I want it now, and this is a presentation and entitlement. And people with BPD, they don't always say it that way. And you're like, I'm jumping as fast as I can. I'm going to get it for you. I'm going to do it. I got to go do this. I'm going to come. I'm going to come over. I'm going to do. What's the matter now? So do they just want you to comply? Well, not consciously, but in a way, like that needy child inside of them, yeah, they want you to just be that parent that takes care of all the needs. You're just supposed to understand their magical thinking. And just like if you have a little baby or a 2 or 3-year-old toddler at home that is your child in actuality, and you know what they're like, right? Because they're in the age stage development of it's healthy then, of like when they have a need, they gonna bawl, they gonna scream, you gotta meet that need right now, right? That's normal for like babies and infants and toddlers. But people with BPD, male or female, in their adult years, they're just like that if they're untreated. And then you end up neglecting maybe one of your own children here and there because you're giving them so much. And they're always saying, me, help me, help me, help me, help me. Give me more, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, don't look at your watch because it means you don't love me. Don't look at some other woman or man, depending who it is, because, well, that means like you don't love me. You're going to abandon me. Oh, what do you mean you have to stay at work? What do you mean you want to go somewhere with a friend? What about me? What about me? What about me? Like a needy young child emotionally. So why do you think you're supposed to fix them? Why do you think you're supposed to rescue them? Why do you think you're supposed to change them? Why are you invested in all that? Because you want who you thought they were. So this isn't all done for them. It's not selfless altruism. It's losing self and abandoning self, true, but with an unconscious, often, measure of control, because you need to orchestrate this relationship, this person with BPD, so that you get something out of it, so that it goes your way. And is it wrong to want something out of it? No, not at all. But these relationships don't work because the borderlines all take, and you're all kind of give, so you hope you'll receive. It just doesn't work out that way. Once the final split evaluation comes, it ends any kind of idealization. And honeymoon stage, whatever. Honeymoon stage. It's so horrible. It's so painful for people. But here's the thing I wanted to say. So do people with BPD just want you to like meet all their needs and never mind you? Yeah, absolutely. Do they know that all the time? No. Are they consciously aware and they think, I'll just get you? No, because they don't even have reference untreated for other. It's all feeling like it's them. You know what I mean? Like every time you do something for them, it just feels like it's them. It's not really you doing something for them. They're just experiencing some momentary gratification of a little bit of satiation of so much what actually is termed affect hunger. So not like physical hunger, just affect hunger, just emotionally, like gimme, 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 because it's a bottomless hole. And they don't want whatever you can give them because they want it from the original wounding parent in the first place. So you're never going to satiate the person with patterns of BPD who could be diagnosable with it, people who've been diagnosed with it. So what is this codependency really about? I'm going to have a lot more comment about that and more in depth as well. But, if you know me, if you watch or you listen to my podcast or you watch videos or you've seen videos on here before, you know that I'm not going to give it to you the way you want to hear it, right? Because the way you want to hear it is still this denial thing about how you're going to hurt yourself and lose more and more of yourself because you can't stop giving to this person with BPD. So many people can, even after they ghost you or they discard you and all the Hoovers and the reverse Hoovers and the I can't. And I speak to so many clients, and by the way, I'm out here to work if you want. And if you just want to book a few sessions because you want to know, well, they're not diagnosed, so I don't really know if they have BPD. And I'm like, if you just want to talk about that, if you just want to vent, if you just want to think about what you're doing, just want to think about strategy, even if it is a strategy that isn't the most advisable, because I work with clients all the time who are doing their own thing and I don't tell them what to do. So if the borderline doesn't want all these things that that you're trying to give, sorry for just calling it things, but all of this, currency and love and attention and time, and if none of that is enough ever, and it won't be, what is it that they do want? Do they just want you to comply? Well, it's not that simple either, because the more that you try to comply, and if you sometimes satiate the spot, so to speak, or the need at that moment, then that compliance kind of doesn't matter much after about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, maybe half a day for some people with BPD. So it's not really about compliance either. You gotta be mommy or daddy, but when you're the object representation of that good parent never had, given, right? Attentive, just all of that and more, losing yourself, wondering why your needs don't matter. They don't, because there's no space in people with BPD for you or your needs or reference of other, etc. And so when you're doing all of that, do you realize that you can't satiate borderline affect hunger? You can't satiate enough attention, enough nurture, enough love. They don't take in the love. They don't receive the love. They don't trust the love. They just think everybody's out to get them because maybe a parent was. But the thing is, so you're trying to be a partner, but you're ending up being a parent. And you think they just want you to comply? No, that's not near good enough. There's nothing that's good enough for them. And that's the really sad and tragic part for them, people with BPD, and for people trying to relate to them and love them. And in any relationship type, by the way, not just romantic relationships or significant other relationships. But the bottom line is, people got to realize it doesn't matter how much you give, how many times you go back, how much you get hurt, how much you don't even know who you are anymore, but you still want to go back. It's not going to work out because you can't make it work out. You can give, you could be perfect at giving everything all the time and never minding yourself. But I mean, you can't be, because that hurts and takes a toll on people in so many different ways. But you can guess your every move too, and you can think, well, geez, I was really feeling hurt at this point. So when he or she turned to me and wanted to be, just like go do something together or be intimate, and I just wasn't there because I was hurting so much and I felt so bad, and I wasn't getting hurt or seen. And then you feel guilty later for that, and you're like, well, how dare that? I thought that I deserved that. It's just, these things just keep spinning around, and so many people out there trying to get the BPD ghosting or discarding ex back, or if you've broken up with them but you expect them to change somehow, and if they don't go to years of treatment, that change ain't a coming, and you can't sit there and wait for them. And then there's this other little piece of the puzzle, that you as a codependent, somebody gets in a relationship with somebody with BPD and you might not know anything about it at the time, you gotta know. You do need to learn, why did you get there? How did you get there? What does this mean for you? So people with BPD are always going to punish the living out of almost every moment at certain points, and after a big devaluation split and or splits in the relationship, and then reverse hoovers and coming back together and recycling. Through it all, they're always going to punish codependent loyalty. But it's not really codependent loyalty. What do you think it could be, other than that you're just so loyal and just so giving, and you just so much want to love this person? Because it's also the boatload of what you need that's not happening. And what else could be going on there? Is it really just that you want to give up your whole self for them? Though it could be a pattern, in a repetition compulsion pattern from your childhood, definitely. But what do you really think? Because borderlines don't want to be fixed, and they don't want to be rescued, and they don't want to be changed. And maybe it seems like it in the beginning, that they're open to this stuff, but believe me, they're not. And then what is it that drives you to need to try to rescue, change, and fix them? Or why? Why? Do you have an answer for that yet? Have you come through it, or are you still in it, but like you're starting to think about it more? Because if you just go on your feelings, well, they're going to get pummeled and then some. But make no mistake about it, people with BPD, whatever they want and all they want, which is really sometimes they don't want anything from you either, because you just aren't the right person. What do I mean by that? You're not the original wounding parent. And that's who they want everything they want from. And that's who, if they could ever have gotten it from or get it from now, it might just be able to help them to get in therapy and change. But you, as only the object representation of wounding parent at times in the devaluations, etc., you don't have a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks of satisfying and ever satiating a person with BPD. And so with that, you need to look at your side of the fence about what you're doing and how you think it's all because of them. What about you, your personal responsibility, not for what they do, for what you do, the choices you're making, consciously or unconsciously, what keeps driving you to do that? Why are you still obsessed? Are you ruminating? Why? What do you think it is? Love to hear some comments where people are at with this. Take care.